Hi there! Welcome to what is happening in Brazil. Let's start with the latest news from the country.
Brazil ranks last in the world in the fight against the pandemic, according to research done by the Australian Lowy Institute. The study analyzed the performance of 98 countries utilizing criteria such as the number of confirmed cases, number of deaths, and detection capacity. With more than 9 million cases and 220,000 deaths, Brazil came last in the ranking. At the top of the list is New Zealand, which adopted rigid restrictive measures right at the outset of the pandemic, registering less than 2,300 cases and 25 deaths. The Brazilian government's inadequate response to the health crisis led to yet another impeachment request against President Jair Bolsonaro. The request was filed by the 6 main leftist parties in the country, listing 15 crimes committed by the president during the pandemic. Among them, the lack of planning of the vaccination campaign and incentivizing the use of ineffective medications against COVID-19. With this request, a total of 64 impeachment inquiries have been sent to the Chamber of Deputies. City Councilwoman Carolina Yara was the victim of an attack in the early hours of January 27th. She was at home with her mother and brother when 2 gunshots were fired at her house. According to Carolina's aides, security cameras show that a car with tinted windows was stopped in front of the residence at the time the shots occurred. Carolina began her mandate at the São Paulo City Council chamber in the beginning of the month and is part of the feminist wing of the Freedom and Socialism Party. Black, intersex, transsexual, and HIV positive, she has been receiving threats since the start of her campaign last year.
With the COVID-19 pandemic is still claiming many victims in Brazil, carnaval celebrations were cancelled or suspended in the main cities that host the party. Such is the case with Recife and Olinda, located in the state of Pernambuco. Though avoiding largest gatherings without the government's emergency assistance, many artists and informal laborers will remain without income.
Carnaval celebrations in the cities of Recife and Olinda are some of the biggest in the country. Last year, the party brought in around 2 billion reais to the state of Pernambuco. However, now in 2021, artists, ensemble directors, and informal laborers will have to make do without the parties and a good chunk of their income.
There is a whole chain of workers involved with cultural events that are already vulnerable, since, as a rule, these are not officially recognized jobs that already come from a precarious place. Even with Carnival, it's already very difficult. So now, without the Carnival, people have nothing to look forward to.
Normally, Carnival is a time of plenty for these workers. They are hired to take part in 2 to 5 events daily. Their daily income during this period is equal to what they make in a month the rest of the year. Without the party, making ends meet becomes complicated.
Around this time, we would have a full schedule on Carnival stages. I would already be working on the pre-production of some events, prepping stages, getting people together, previewing. In other words, at this time, we would already have Carnival production underway.
Workers who sell beverages, snacks, and other products are also being directly affected by the cancellations and hope that authorities will do something about it.
It's where informal merchants make a little extra money. Why extra money? Because his savings come from beyond what he makes in his day-to-day during the month.
The cities of Recife and Olinda both affirm that they want to lend support to the entire Carnival production chain, but there is no concrete plans as of yet. The Pernambuco state government is looking into adding carnaval ensembles into the cultural incentive law. Meanwhile, all that is left is the hope that with the arrival of the vaccine, the 2022 carnival will have double the work and double the party.
In 2019, artist and housing activist Preta Ferreira spent more than 3 months unjustly imprisoned. The ordeal is told in her book My Flesh, which has just been released in Brazil.
Deixe-me ir, quero ir embora. Tire suas mãos de mim agora. Eu sou aquilo que você queria ser.
Artist, producer, advertiser, and housing moving militant Preta Ferreira now makes her debut as a writer with the book My Flesh. In the book, Preta tells of the pain and struggle for survival during the 108 days in which she remained detained without evidence.
I always had a very good relationship with writing, but what motivated me to write this book was the desire not to remain silent. It was a way to let out a scream. I wrote this book so that people can feel what the pain of being unjustly arrested is like.
Preta and other members of her movement were accused of extortion and criminal conspiracy for allegedly forcing residents of occupied buildings in São Paulo to pay fees. However, no evidence was presented during the proceedings, which the activist is now dealing with as a free woman.
People are being arrested not to do their time, but to be tortured. In some prisons, there are no proper living conditions, with food that comes with rats. Who is able to eat this? I spent 3 nights sleeping in the rough, without having a sip of water, without eating anything. Is this a prison or torture?
Today in Brazil, there are more than 700,000 incarcerated people, for just over 420,000 prison vacancies. 66% of prisoners are black.
There are things that the data doesn't show, that they don't see. That universe is a lot worse than we think and imagine. The data doesn't show feelings. The women and the people that have been unjustly arrested need to start screaming. The book My Flesh has this purpose.
And now it's time for Brazilianism.
Today I'm going to make a seafood paella with sausage. I've started heating up the pan. I'll begin by cooking the shrimp. Now that's already fried, I'll take it out and put it aside. It's actually not fully cooked, it's still a little bit raw. But let's put it aside and put it back in the end, so it doesn't overcook and become rubbery, so it doesn't get hard. Now let's start with the vegetables. I put a bell pepper and some garlic and let's sit it a little bit. A little bit of salt to dry it up. I'm going to add the sausage and leave it until the end. Here I've got some calamari, crab, pre-cooked octopus and the fish. I'm going to add some salt and it all goes into the pan. Now comes the rice, a diced tomato. Now that it's cooked a bit and the rice is sealed, let's put in some turmeric. I'm going to add some of the sauce from the shrimp heads, as well as the sauce from the fish head and the fish spine. It's already boiling. I'm going to add some scallops. With a heat, they open up and release some juices that will give the paella more flavor. I'll add the beans. I'm going to add the pre-cooked mussels. Then I finish it up with the shrimp.
Liked the show? So hit the like button and share with your friends. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel to receive notifications. We'll see you next week.